listeners, I was back in the Old Testament looking at the fall of Jericho. And, that was when the walls came down. This would be the first city that Israel conquered in, when they went into Canaan in the Promised Land. But Jericho was in a good place, for agriculture. It was on a fertile plain. It was sort of northwest of the Dead Sea. He had been there for a while. The walls had made it hard to attack, and everything. But there was a lot of evil going on in those walls, though. I want to read Joshua 5:13 through 15. And it came to pass when Joshua was by Jericho that he lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, there stood a man over against him, with his sword drawn in his hand. And Joshua went unto him and said unto him, Art thou for us or for our adversaries? And he said, Nay, but as captain of the host of the Lord am I now come. And Joshua fell on his face to the earth, and did worship, and said unto him, What saith my Lord unto his servant? And the captain of the Lord's host said unto Joshua, Loose thy shoe from off thy foot, for the place whereon thou standest is holy. And Joshua did so. Usually when an angel of Yahweh, with a sword drawn in his hand appears, we know this is a divine warrior, but I think being the commander of Yahweh's army means that this is God himself. Joshua fell on his face to the earth. I think Joshua knew that voice that he heard. When he says the place you are standing is holy, this is similar to what happened with Moses, in the burning bush. A divine warrior shows up before war. Here, God is the warrior, assuring Joshua that he is there and he's given them the city. Now I'm going to read Joshua 6:1 through 6. Now Jericho was straitly shut up because of the children of Israel. None went out and none came in. And the Lord said unto Joshua, See, I have given it into thy hand, Jericho, and the king thereof, and the mighty men of valor. And ye shall compass the city, all ye men of war, and go round about the city once. Thus shalt thou do 6 days. And 7 priests shall bear before the ark 7 trumpets of ram's horns. And the 7th day ye shall compass the city 7 times, and the priests shall blow with the trumpets. And it shall come to pass that when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, and when ye hear the sound of the trumpet, all the people shall shout with a great shout, and the walls of the city shall fall down flat, and the people shall ascend up every man straight before him. And Joshua the son of Nun called the priest, and said unto them, Take up the ark of the covenant, and let 7 priests bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of the Lord. The Jericho was, contained in those city walls. None came in, none went out, because Israel was down there, and the Lord told Joshua he had given him the city, but the Lord had a plan. The warriors would march around the city once a day, and on that 7th day, 7 priests would, bear before the ark of the covenant 7 ram horns, and they would blow them, and all the people would shout, and the walls would come down. So on that 7th day, you see, they went around 7 times. There are 3 types of animal horns that they used. There was the Canaan, the shofar, and the yovel. The Canaan and the Yavel were kind of used as signal, but it was not for war. The shofar is the one, a lot of us know about. It was used for warfare. And this is the one, when they say trumpet, I think it means the shofar. Okay, I'm going to read verses 7 through 10. And he said unto the people, Pass on and compass the city, and let him that is armed pass on before the ark of the Lord. And it came to pass, when Joshua had spoken unto the people, that the 7 priests bearing the 7 trumpets of ram's horn passed on before the Lord, and blew with the trumpets. And the ark of the covenant of the Lord followed them. And the armed men went before the priest, and that blew with the trumpets. And the reward came after the ark, the priests going on and blowing with the trumpets. And Joshua had commanded the people, saying, Ye shall not shout, nor make any noise with your voice, neither shall any word proceed out of your mouth, until the day I bid you shout. Then shall ye shout. The ark represented God's presence. But notice that Joshua told the people not to make any noise with their voice until I bid you to shout. He was being obedient, and following God's instructions. Okay, I'm going to read Joshua 6, 11 through 14. So the ark of the Lord compassed the city, going about it once, and they came into the camp and lodged in the camp. And Joshua rose early in the morning, and the priests took up the ark of the Lord. And 7 priests bearing 7 trumpets of ram horns before the ark of the Lord went on continually, and blew with the trumpets. And the armed men went before them, but the reward came after the ark of the Lord, the priests going on and blowing with the trumpets. And the 2nd day they had compassed the city once, and returned into the camp. So they did 6 days. So we see that Joshua and all the priests and the armed men did as instructed, the 1st and 2nd day. And then in verse 14, it said they did these things for 6 days. Okay, now I'm going to read Joshua 6, 15 through 17. And it came to pass on the 7th day that they rose early about the dawning of the day, and compassed the city after the same manner 7 times. Only on that day they compassed the city 7 times. And it came to pass at the 7th time, when the priests blew with the trumpets, Joshua said unto the people, Shout, for the Lord hath given you the city. And the city shall be accursed, even it, and all that are therein, to the Lord. Only Rahab the harlot shall live, she and all that are with her in the house, because she hid the messengers that we sent. So on that 7th day, they did these things in the same manner, but this time they circled the city 7 times. And, on that 7th time, the priest blew the trumpets, and Joshua told the people to shout. The wickedness of this city was why the Lord authorized this invasion. They had rejected Yahweh and were under authority of the sons of God who rule unjustly. It was those angels that fell with Lucifer. This was the war against idolaters and evildoers. The spoils of this war belonged to God. Some valuables were not destroyed, but placed in Yahweh's treasury. Most everything was being destroyed, all the people killed. Notice that, Rahab and her people were spared. She was the harlot who had hid the Jewish spies when they were sent, the first time. I'm going to read verses 18 through 20 now. And ye in any wise keep yourselves from the accursed thing, lest ye make yourselves accursed, when ye take on the accursed thing, and make the camp of Israel a curse, and trouble it. But all the silver and gold and vessels of brass and iron are consecrated unto the Lord. They shall come into the treasury of the Lord. So the people shouted when the priests blew with the trumpets. And it came to pass, when the people heard the sound of the trumpet, and the people shouted with a great shout, that the walls fell down flat, so that people went up into the city, every man straight before him, and they took the city. So, so much was being, destroyed, and the valuables were concentrated unto God. There's this Hebrew word, sherem, which means to set apart permanently as the property of God. It's really hard to translate that word into English, but it kind of means, to set apart permanently. Okay, and then finally, in verse 20, we see that the walls fell down. And Jericho, they had that upper and lower wall that went around the city. But the walls fell down, so that, the Jews could go in and take the city. The things that started happening were something that would kind of be hard to watch, but there was a lot of killing, and, these warriors were just taking over, and it was probably pretty rough. I'm going to read verses 21 through 24 now. And they utterly destroyed all that was in the city, both man and woman, young and old, and ox and sheep and ass, with the edge of the sword. But Joshua had said unto the two men that had spied out the country, Go into the harlot's house, and bring out thence the woman, and all that she has, as ye swear unto her. And the young men that were spies went in and brought out Rahab and her father and her mother and her brethren, and all that she had. And they brought out all her kindred, and left them without the camp of Israel. And they burnt the city with fire, and all that was therein. Only the silver and the gold and the vessels of brass and iron they put into the treasury of the house of the Lord. I wanted to say about those metals, the treasures and all that they had, put in for the treasury of God, that, those metals that had been used for pagan gods were melted down. As they melted, they were purified and made for dedication to God. The thing I wanted to say about Rahab, she was not only, dwelled in Israel, but, she was also an ancestor of the Messiah. When it was saying that she dwelt even to this day, that's what that's talking about. Okay, I'm going to read verses 25 through 27. And Joshua saved Rahab the harlot alive, and her father's household, and all that she had, and she dwelleth in Israel even unto this day, because she had hid the messengers which Joshua sent to spy out Jericho. And Joshua adjured them at that time, saying, Cursed be the man before the Lord that riseth up and buildeth this city Jericho. He shall lay the foundation thereof, and his firstborn, and in his youngest son shall he set up the gates of it. So the Lord was with Joshua, and his fame was noised throughout all the country. So like we were saying, Rahab and her family, they were spared. And, Joshua said that anyone who tried to build Jericho back would be cursed. Joshua, he became famous for this defeat, because of the Lord, was with him. And Joshua had been obedient and faithful. When I was reading that, at the first of this podcast about the divine warrior, I think that the commander of the Lord's army was really Christ, before he was flesh. And just like in John's vision in Revelation, that same commander comes to raise the dead, judge the world, and make all things new. And the day is coming when those who oppose or ignore God will face this commander in all his wrath. Are you ready? Okay, guys, till next time.